Sportscast November 1st, 2019. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to all our channels, YouTube, Periscope, iTunes, and Periscope. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe. Please rate us on iTunes. It will help us out tremendously. And visit us on the sportscast.net. This episode is brought to you by 12-1 Training. Get in shape for Christmas. Visit Instagram.com/12-1 Training. Alabama has beat Arkansas, but not through Tua, but through Mac Jones, the backup for Alabama. And we don't know if he may start against LSU next week. To join us, to talk to us about this, to iron this thing out, Justin Riley, welcome back to the Sportscast.
Good morning, Sportscast maniacs. Glad to be here for a morning edition with you guys.
So Arkansas, it was tight at the beginning, but of course, Alabama pulled through and won and beat them handily. What happened?
Yeah, well, the way I saw it was, like you said, Arkansas came out playing very well, very motivated, and actually was moving the ball well against Alabama. And looks like the defense was still having its same issues. The only thing that really stopped Arkansas was several miscues, and Alabama was able to quickly capitalize off of that. And then at that point, Arkansas, to be honest with you, for lack of a better way to say it, they gave up. And Alabama was able to continue with a route. They scored 41 points in the first half alone. And then the second half just kind of, coasted a little bit, letting some younger players get some experience. The biggest thing of the night, like you said, was Mac Jones. Had a pretty good night. He had 280-plus yards passing, had a couple of touchdowns. One of those touchdowns was a bomb to Jerry Jeudy. And matter of fact, now that I bring up Jerry Jeudy has been kind of absent as of late. And he made a triumphant return, had over 100 yards receiving for the first time in several weeks. And I believe he scored 2 touchdowns, and that's his first few touchdowns in a long time as well. So glad to have Mr. Jeudy back. So other than that, like you said, there really wasn't a whole lot to really dig on. Offense looked really well, considering they were playing with our backup. Defense played better, but a lot of the same problems still exist. Now, Trayvon Diggs was the biggest player that stood out to me. Had a pick six after the previous week having a 100-yard scoop and score for a touchdown. Terrell Lewis was phenomenal. It looks like he is probably 100% playing at an NFL-type level. And Anthony Jennings had a big game as well. And the most famous punter in the United States, Typer Ryan, had another phenomenal game. And pretty awesome, man. Do you know of any other punters in America right now that are getting a lot of hype and a lot of fan reaction?
Not at all. The only one that I know is Cam Lewis. He's a field goal kicker, but punters don't get much. And I'm not sure if they get drafted. I think they just get signed up or have to go through like the walk-on process.
Well, I don't know, man. J.K. Scott, our previous All-American punter, got drafted by the Packers, and he's actually one of the better punters in the NFL right now. But, yeah, as far as the Arkansas game, not a lot to really dissect. They did what they were supposed to do, but there's still a lot of questions defensively going into this incredible contest against LSU next week, which is going to have a lot of implications for the playoff race. But very pleased with Mac Jones. Came out, kind of slow, but it is to be expected. Nick Saban and company were just looking to just ease him in. And when he started establishing a rhythm, he really showed some good things. And should he have to go against LSU, the Alabama could benefit well from it.
Now, obviously, looking forward to it. LSU has been number one for the past 2 weeks. The college playoff poll comes out on Tuesday. Everyone's talking about scheduling and how important. Can Alabama afford to lose against LSU? Not saying they will, but can they afford it right now?
Well, to be honest with you, you get two different opinions on this topic. You have one side that's saying that Alabama can't afford to lose this game, and that winning out will automatically place them in the playoffs. And then you have the other side saying absolutely not. Joel Klatt being one of the largest supporters of this idea. And to be honest with you, I got to lean more towards what Joel Klatt is saying, simply because Alabama does not have the strength of schedule this year that would convince voters to place them in over some other candidates vying for a playoff spot. I'm an Alabama fan, and I'm sure I'm going to draw a lot of pushback from the Alabama nation for this, but let's be realistic. Their opponents are actually, their winning percentage is the worst in the FBS right now. It's below 500. It's below 400. That's not a good resume to take in when you're having a controversy come the end of the season. So, absolutely, beating LSU is a must right now. Other than LSU, who does Alabama have on their schedule? Auburn. And if Auburn, wins out heading into the Iron Bowl, yes, it does look good on a resume, but it's not going to be what ultimately is going to push them in. Now, if Alabama loses and somehow LSU stumbles and Alabama is able to get into the SEC championship and defeat whoever the East representative is, and I think it's going to be Florida, then they'll get into the playoffs. But to be honest with you, they're going to have to beat LSU and win the SEC to get in.
In other college football news, a lot going on with paying their players. California approved it. Florida's talking about it as well. Is the trend pushing towards having athletes pretty much become professional in college?
Absolutely. You and I discussed this topic, off the air here recently. And to be honest with you, college football as we know it is about to completely change. It's going to completely go away. It essentially is becoming NFL light. We already have the transfer portal, which basically is college football's version of free agency. So now if somebody gets a little disgruntled, they can just hop in the transfer portal and be gone. Joey Gatewood being the most recent addition to the famous transfer portal, from Auburn. So now you got free agency. Okay, well now all of a sudden you're paying the players, and now that's going to be an issue where, okay, well how much are they going to get paid? You're going to start bartering for players' pay to go to certain schools. But one of the biggest things is everybody has been begging for this and asking for this. In the grand scheme of things, are the athletes really going to benefit well monetarily from this? Because you got to think, Santiago, how many players would you say in Division I alone are there out there?
Gosh, in the
It's
hundreds,
like
of
thousands,
course.
maybe
Yeah.
thousands. Yeah, I mean you got hundreds of players just on the team alone. So how are you going to be able to distribute money amongst thousands of players throughout the NCAA and Division I alone? There's not going to be very much monetary gain from this because you're dividing all this money amongst a slew of athletes.
Yeah, something to definitely discuss about. I'm not 100% for it, to be honest, because I think that might ruin the attitude of a player. Now that you were talking about it off the air, as you were saying, now the hottest thing is to be a grad transfer. And just like that Auburn player that just left on Tuesday, I mean, now players are going to decide what school, because this was not done 5-10 years ago. Now it's become a popularity.
Well, absolutely, and don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that sometimes that there are circumstances that are going to call the player to withdraw and head to another school to better himself, but that's not the case majority of times now. We're in a generation of entitlement, and as soon as a player gets slighted or feels like he's slighted in just even the smallest of margins, he just says, you know what, screw it. I'm out. I'm going somewhere else. Or, if they come against a little bit of competition and actually have to work for their position, they just see it as, okay, well, you know what, I'm out. and it's just really gotten out of hand. And like I said, it's going to turn into free agency.
Yeah.
And just like the NFL.
Not good. Anyways, due to time, let's head into game predictions. Ole Miss at Auburn.
I don't see Ole Miss hanging around too well against Auburn. Auburn has one of the best defenses in the country and one of the worst offenses. But I don't think the Rebels have what it takes to beat Auburn. Matter of fact, I say Auburn's going to have 2 non-offensive touchdowns.
And Alabama needs Auburn to win. Kansas State at Kansas.
Well, Kansas State was the talk of the world this past week, upsetting Oklahoma. Question is, can Kansas State bounce back over an incredible win and face actually a surging Kansas team? To be honest with you, I think it's going to be a very close game, and but Kansas State will pull it out.
Oregon at USC.
Man, that's going to be probably the better game of the weekend. I believe that Oregon is on the fast track to get to the playoff. I think they're probably one of the better one-loss teams, if not the best one-loss team in the country. But USC has a tendency to kind of show up and do things that nobody expects it. However, not this time. The quack attack with Justin Herbert will prevail.
And that game, and you could read an article that Tyler just published. USC has a lot of injured players, which might work on behalf of Oregon. And big game of the week: Florida, Georgia, neutral site in Jacksonville, 3:30 p.m. on CBS. Who are you pulling for, and who are the Alabama fans pulling for?
To be honest with you, this game really doesn't affect Alabama either way. But to be honest with you, just watching over the past few weeks, I see 2 different teams in 2 different places right now. One, I see a Georgia team that really is playing unenthused and just really not living up to potential. But then again, on the Florida side of things, I just see Florida as a team that is getting better every week. Things are coming together. That chemistry is there. Kyle Trask is becoming a really good quarterback. They're establishing their run game. And that offensive line, which was suspect before, is now becoming a solid unit. And let's just be honest, man, that defense is just incredible. They're not getting as much hype as they should. Okay, what does all this mean? I picked this weekend Florida in the upset as they move towards the SEC championship.
And ESPN game of the weekend, SMU at Memphis.
Now that's a game of the weekend
For ESPN, not for everyone else.
Not for everyone else. Oh, let's see. Well, man, if you don't get a chance to really watch anything outside of the Power Five, you really need to tune in. These are 2 really solid teams, man, and this game really could go either way. However, I'm going to go with SMU.
SMU. NFL, Patriots visit the Ravens. Might be the toughest opponent Patriots will face yet in their schedule.
It definitely is. I am going to go ahead, and not because I'm a Ravens fan, and say the Ravens pull the upset, giving the Patriots the first loss of the NFL season.
And there you have it, first loss for the Patriots. Justin, what's the best way to people to reach you to talk to you about Jerry Jeudy?
Go to Twitter and Instagram at 12OneTraining. That's 12, number 12, 1 spelled out, training. You can also find me manning our Sportscast site at the Sportscast 1 on Twitter and Instagram.
And one more game to predict, Miami at FSU. Last one.
The question is, which team will get out of their own way to win the game? Miami in a sloppy game.
There you have it. Justin Riley has it with the SEC update, of course, Alabama update. You can follow us on thesportscast.net or on Twitter at thesportscast1. Watch the interview with Kurt Sampson about Tiger Woods. Very, very interesting conversation. And Justin, have a great Friday.
You as well.